Now that 2022 is done and dusted, it is time to talk about 2023. Now, I know a lot of people talk about this stuff in 2022, but I've been pretty busy here toward the tail end of 2022 between my business and just family obligations, as you can imagine, and most people also are in very similar situations. So instead, we're going to talk about it here actually in 2023. And what I want to do is use the Redfin predictions as kind of a framework for discussion as to where I see the market headed here in 2023. So let's get into it. First headline, housing market predictions 2023, a post-pandemic sales slump will push home prices down for the first time in a decade. Absolutely. We're already seeing it. You saw it at the tail end of 2022 with the lack of home price appreciation, but you're going to see it more here in 2023. Prediction number one, home sales will fall to the lowest level since 2011 with a slow recovery in the second half of the year. I absolutely agree with this. This is spot on. We just are set up for gridlock. The number of buyers out there will continue to be strong, but there just simply will not be enough homes available for sale. When buyers don't want to buy, sellers don't want to sell. Low demand plus the quote-unquote lock-in effect of homeowners with ultra-low mortgage rates staying put means new listings will continue to decline year over year during the first half of 2023. And I am already seeing it, right? So there's a bunch of people out there that are interested in buying and they can afford to buy at the current rate, mortgage interest rate, which is 6.5%, but there's just simply not enough homes or not the type of home that they're looking for available at that price point. So you're going to continue to see this. And if think about it, I mean, just like realistically, if you're locked into, let's say you're at 2.75 or 3% mortgage, are you going to like sell your house and go into something? And when you sell your house, you're going to be selling it at a lower price than what you would have a year and a half ago or even a year ago. Are you going to then get into something that's more expensive with a mortgage interest rate that is double that? Like, it's just not going to happen unless you absolutely have to move or you have some set of circumstances where you've got a expanding family or something like that where you are forced to move. People are just going to stay put. It's just human nature. Prediction number two, mortgage rates will decline, ending the year below 6%. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know how I feel about this one. I mean, you couldn't have predicted that they went up as fast as they did this past year, so maybe they come down a little bit, but I think we're going to be around 6% for quite some time. Maybe we're a little bit below 6%, but not by much. You know, it says here 5.8%. I don't know, maybe even at 5.5%. The difference between 5.5% and 3% or 2.75 is just like stunning. So we're still nowhere even close to where we were back in 2020, 2021. Prediction number three, home prices will post their first year-over-year decline in a decade, but the U.S. will avoid a wave of foreclosures. Absolutely. You can see the writing on the wall here. The home price appreciation, has come to a screeching halt, and it is simply because of the Fed funds rate. So they've jacked it up to the point where the interest rate, the mortgage, the borrowing costs have gone up so much that it is now having an effect on prices. The only thing that is saving prices is the lack of inventory, and that's going to continue to be the case. So it's a simple supply and demand, and you just don't have the supply, and the demand has remained strong despite the rising interest rates. So you're going to continue to see this where home prices just do not come down nearly as fast as what you would have thought. So as a result of that, you're not going to have very many foreclosures because the only time that you foreclose on a home is if you owe more on that home than what the home is actually worth. And that's most people are in a position, especially if you bought your house within the past 10 years, you're not in a position where you're in a negative equity position because you've been paying down your mortgage over that time period, and home prices have gone up just so much over the past 10 years. So you're just not going to see very many foreclosures unless you just recently borrowed it and you run into hard times. I don't see this as a big deal. Prediction number four, Midwest, Northeast will hold up best as overall market cools. Absolutely. I've always said that, real estate market, you have to look at these local markets. You really can't look at real estate on a national basis. You have to look at what's happening in your specific market. I am here in the Northeast. As a result, in the Boston market, we are not going to see any type of collapsing home prices or anything like that, despite the fact that the economy might be in a recession. But that's not going to have just much of an impact here, again, here in the Boston market, because you've got the demand. We just have too much intellectual capital around here. We've got these life sciences going up everywhere. We've got all these academic institutions, Harvard, MIT, Northeastern. You've got just Boston University, just huge schools that you always have this influx of people coming into the city. So you're just not going to see the type of depreciation in home values that you would see in some of the other markets like Idaho or Las Vegas, Nevada. I mean, those places are going to be much harder hit when home prices start to correct. And they've already started to correct. So, we're already seeing. All right, prediction number 5, rents will fall and many Gen Zers and young millennials will continue renting indefinitely. So I'll agree with one half of this, which is Gen Zers will continue to rent indefinitely because they just don't have the money. They have the debt to income is just through the roof. So I do some rentals, and what I see when I see the rental application come in, like 9 times out of 10 is that the person who is renting has typically significant debt attached to student loans. So if they have $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 attached to the student loans, then the likelihood of them being able to afford a mortgage payment with the debt to income ratio, it just doesn't work. So it's a real challenge, and I really feel for the students that are coming out of school that have a significant amount of student debt. I don't know what the fix is, but I think it's, again, something that we're going to continue to see. Now, the second half of this, which is rents will fall, it's all market dependent. Here in the Boston market, again, you've got tons of people coming in, so you're probably not going to see rents come down all that much. You might see them come down a little bit, but for the most part, they're going to remain strong, and you're not going to have any problems finding tenants here in the Boston market. But again, if you're in Idaho, it might be a little bit of an issue. Prediction number 6, builders will focus on multifamily rentals. Again, I'm here in the Northeast. You don't see, of course, there's construction happening all the time, and a lot of the construction is multifamily or condo buildings. So this really isn't relevant to me, but maybe in some of the other areas where typically they would be building single family homes, maybe they switch over to multifamily homes. I don't know, it's possible. All right, prediction number 7, investor activity will bottom out in the spring, then rebound. Absolutely. It happened actually right around September of last year, 2022, where investors vanished, gone, poof, poof, literally up in smoke. I don't know where they all went, but they exited stage left. And I think part of that is because most of the purchases that investors made during 2020, 2021 were made using some type of funds from some type of leveraged asset. So it was all borrowed money. So if they owned a home, they could take $500,000 out of that home and then put it into another piece of property. And I saw that a ton. But when rates all of a sudden go from 3% up to 6%, now the math on that doesn't make sense because you're still paying that premium for those homes because the home prices were still so elevated. But now to service that debt was significantly more expensive than it had been during the year or two prior to that. So I definitely see this. Is it going to rebound at the second half of 2023? Who knows? It's anybody's guess. Probably not, honestly. All right, prediction, unless the interest rates come down, right? So if all of a sudden now the rates are in the 4s, mid 4s, now you'll see more investors come to the table. Prediction 8, Gen Zers will seek jobs and apartments in relatively affordable mid-tier cities. All right. I don't like the wording on this. I agree that it's going to happen, but I don't like the wording on this where they're seeking jobs. No, they're going to be forced to take jobs in some of these mid-tier markets because they flat out just can't afford to live in some of these major metro markets, right? Like Boston. Boston is second. I think New York has the highest rents in all of the country, followed by San Francisco and Boston. Although I will say Boston is doing much better in terms of retaining rental prices. So, we've maintained like a certain rent, whereas in San Francisco, it is collapsing and collapsing hard. San Francisco has got a lot of issues to deal with out there. Thankfully, we are not dealing with that here in Boston. There's a lot of things driving that. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but I think this is very accurate, where you're just going to see people who graduate college, they're like, look, I can't afford to live in the city, so I've got to go live in some other place. I've got to go live in a less expensive location. Migration from one part of the country to another will ease from the pandemic boom. I don't know that I necessarily agree with this. I think you're going to see, I guess maybe it says it will ease. So it'll still happen, but maybe it won't happen as fast as what it was happening. Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate. But I would say people are still moving into, again, we just talked about it in that last prediction, where people are moving into less expensive markets. You're going to continue to see that over the course of the next year because homes in these other major metro markets are just simply too expensive, as are rents. All right, prediction 11, more cities will follow Minneapolis YIMBY, which is for yes in my backyard. Example to curb housing expenses. Maybe. I don't know. I think this one's a little outlandish, but it's possible. More oftentimes than not, what happens is it's just shoved down the neighbors' throats. That's been my experience, at least here in the Northeast, is even if you attend all the public meetings, all the public hearings, you do the design review with the architects, at the end of the day, oftentimes it just doesn't matter, and they're going to do what they're going to do, and you just better be prepared for it. So I think the smart folks who are in a position where they know something is coming into their neighborhood, they oftentimes, or even if they hear, catch whispers of it, then they put their property up for sale and, get out of Dodge before things start being developed. So that's been my experience anyways. All right. Prediction number 12, buyer's agent commissions will rise slightly as fewer agents broker fewer deals at lower prices. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with this. Again, I think it's probably market dependent. Maybe they offer a little bit more, go from 2% to say 2.5% or 2.5% up to 3%. It's possible, but the buyer's agent commission doesn't make or break the sale of a property. It's ultimately up to the how good is the marketing for the property? Do you have a professional managing the listing itself? And is it priced competitively in the marketplace? So if those three things are not met, then you could offer 5% commission to a buyer's agent, but the person who's actually purchasing the home, they're still not going to be interested because it's overpriced. Anyways, those are my thoughts for the 2023 predictions. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Do you see 2023 as kind of a transition year, or do you think we're going to go crazy? You think it's going to be a great year? You think people are just going to come out in droves and list a property and tons of buyers? Or do you think it's going to be the opposite, where you're going to have maybe a decent number of buyers, but a limited pool of housing inventory to choose from? I think that's what's going to happen personally, but hey, who knows? That's why we make predictions. Anyways, if you did enjoy this video, I just kindly ask that you smash the like button and also click the subscribe button down below to be notified of future videos. Thanks for watching. Take care.